Konrad Adenauer Foundation has been in Armenia for more than 10 years. It has had an office here in Yerevan since 2008, but carried out activities also before that through the offices of the foundation in other places. However, since 2008, Yerevan office has been a participant of the political dialogue in South Caucasus regional program. In short, our task here is to support the democratization process. This is the main issue of our offices all over the world.
Գործունեությունը սկսեցինք.
We started out activity by looking for partners of different spheres, adhering, of course, to those principles and mission that Konrad Adenauer Foundation carries out both in Armenia and in different countries of the world. 2 or 3 years after the start of the activity, Konrad Adenauer Foundation became already presentable, both with its own events and with its participation in the events implemented by different other organizations.
Միջոցառումներին իր մասնակցությամբ.
Development of democracy should be carried out not only in one direction, but on the way to that mission, Konrad Adenauer Foundation has cooperated, for example, with such partners, both with partner organizations and partner state departments, such as the Ministry of Education and Science of the Republic of Armenia, National Assembly of the Republic of Armenia, as well as state departments in the form of ministries, which both cooperated and contributed to our activities.
Konrad Adenauer Foundation became a platform for starting a civil dialogue for educational issues and in the process of making educational decisions in Armenia, which is very important for us.
As the subject of social science is a subject taught in grades from 8 to 12, which has components of civil education, human rights, law and political science, it was necessary to create an alternative program, a content, and test it with 3 high schools for a year to support the lessons, teacher trainings in advance, discussions of the content. In quite a short period of time, a syllabus and a manual corresponding to the syllabus has been developed, which has also been approved and guaranteed by the ministry to be used as an educational manual. It is very important that in addition to the educational manual, a methodological manual has also been developed, which will allow teachers to work correctly with the materials of the developed classes. We'll have a result which will be visible already not only within the general education, but also in the society.
The peculiarity of all the programs of Foundation is also in the nature of being ongoing. We will be able to further expand our scope in the future, to have an active participation and to support the society with our studies as expert scientists, people of the science sphere, thereby promoting the establishment of the civil society, Christian democracy in our country, which is very necessary and very urgent for our reality.
The title of Political Dialogue on the Way to Democracy Development is always on the agenda. And in that sense, Konrad Adenauer Foundation collaborates also with different parties and prepares the members of youth organizations of parties so that they, as politicians, can be presentable, thereby promoting development of democracy in the country.
The foundation is one of the leading cognitive, informational and democratic centers of global significance. I can gladly state that in Armenia they not only had their place, but the place expands every year. In the implementation of the programs, we have never prioritized the fact we have prioritized the energy that our joint activities of these or those youth or political circles gave. Particularly our joint action, which is called Democracy Begins From You, has had a tremendous impact in the educational sector. It allowed to develop a culture of democratic thinking, accountability, public interest and coordination of one's own freedoms among young people, pupils, high school students. Throughout all the activity of the Foundation in Armenia, I can proudly emphasize that we have worked together to promote freedom of thought in Armenia, and those undertakings were not limited exclusively to curricula. We have also implemented a fairly warm and intensive joint activity in the political field. I want to emphasize a very important circumstance, that the Foundation, being a representative of the European conservative family, of the German Christian Democratic Union, of Christian Democratic Union, an institutional representative in Armenia, has actually contributed to pluralism and multi-party democracy in Armenia. I am obliged to open some parentheses, also by saying that the Foundation, within the framework of its capabilities, has also contributed to voicing and solution of foreign political issues of Armenia, and it has been very useful for us in the political sense, from the Parliamentary Assembly in the area of Eastern Partnership to the expert circles for, so to say, adjusting the clock hands for ensuring the exchange of thought, free thought, opinions, and I should repeat again, to convey free thinking to the young generation. I think that the Foundation's expectations are not the important thing. From our side, I can only say that we have wonderful working conditions in Armenia. In Armenia, we can freely implement our activities to support the democratization process. The question is more about whether we meet Armenians' expectations. I can speak about the 3 years during which I have been working here. I have a good feeling. We have very good partners both in the government and the opposition, before the revolution and after the revolution as well, but especially we have many partners in the civil society. The launch of the cooperation of Yerevan School of Political Studies with Konrad Adenauer Foundation is very interesting. The founder of Konrad Adenauer Foundation in the region, Cape Plate, suggested us to cooperate within the framework of the program Democracy Starts From You. It was a unique project, a very good project, which was implemented mainly for youth of the rural areas and simply became a new startup in the field of civil education in Armenia. The experience that we gained while implementing that project gave us the opportunity to implement the same project a few years later in all high schools of the Republic. In 109 high schools, 5,400 pupils studied with that program, 60 teachers, 20 schools, 250 representatives of youth wings of different parties. Today, I can proudly say that with cooperation with Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Yerevan School of Political Studies of the European Council has created an exclusive program, an exclusive forum for civil education instructors who carry out exchange of thoughts and constantly modernize, constantly update whatever there is, the process of citizen formation, how democracy works in places and in general.
We also appreciate the role of non-governmental organizations and the general civil society. As far as today, we give a great importance to the civil society on the way to democracy development, its role, and also its further development.
In a very short period of time, the Foundation was able to lay the cooperation basis of such programs with the Center, which first and foremost became student-centered. Saying student-centered, I mean first of all the great base of those scholarships that program of Konrad Adenauer provided by the Foundation, especially for master's program students of human rights and democracy. We cooperate with the Foundation not only at the level of scholarships, but also expanded certain scientific and academic circles, as a result of which the scientific outcome that we have in the form of master thesis received a considerable support by the Foundation in terms of their publication, their enlargement, and in terms of more notification. The impartial and honest international organizations like Konrad Adenauer Foundation really help in the process of turning the idea into a project, which is especially a great support to the young people who try to feel what they want. They want to test their thought, their idea, and understand what the real value is in reality beyond the ideology, beyond the propaganda. We have worked with Konrad Adenauer Foundation for about 4 years within the framework of the program Schools for the European Future of Armenia. The main goal of that school was to give an opportunity to the young people to voice their opinion on the European future of Armenia, to give a platform so that the young scientists express themselves in Armenian and international platforms. It is said a lot in our society that young people are our future. No, the young people are our present. And Konrad Adenauer Foundation, understanding that the young people are today, they have a thought, they have a decision, the ability to influence the decision, allowed, supported the implementation of this thought, which had an essential role also for the flight of the scientific thought of those young people.
Economic Journalists Club has worked with Konrad Adenauer Foundation for already 9 years. All the important programs for our economy have been included in the agenda of the activities, carried out jointly by Economic Journalists Club and Konrad Adenauer Foundation. And there has not been any key issue in our economy that we have not paid attention to, ranging from pension reforms to tax legislation changes and the enlargement of communities. This organization, by our assessment, is a responsible financier. What is to say a responsible financier? That they take on the responsibility not only to finance the given project, but also the responsibility to take the project from beginning to end, to process each detail from start to finish, and to participate in the whole process of summarizing the results. One of the most important outcomes of our cooperation can be considered certain changes in the labor code, which we have reached as a result of several joint discussions with lawyers within the framework of Konrad Adenauer program, employers, journalists and lawyers. We had presented the suggestions to the legislative body, and to our joy, it was accepted.
Our center, which has a history of 25 years, but has been very active in recent years, decided to organize a large conference, an international conference, and that international conference was to put forward a question about the fact that there are many realities in Armenia. There are problems which are not spoken about. That is, we say some things about our society, but we do not know our society in reality. But the problem is that the conference wasn't only about gathering and taking. Two very important things were necessary there. There was supported to be a website so that all those materials were to be put in, presented and thus publicized. And we intended that all those materials should also be processed and published as a special collection, our center's third yearbook. And it is here that our cooperation was very good with Konrad Adenauer Foundation, because they offered us that we would undertake that part, which was left open, and we had planned this conference in June, and the revolution happened in April. In June, however, we held out conference on a large scale, and now we are much grateful also that thanks to the Konrad Adenauer Foundation we could have the website. All the materials are already posted on that website. Now we are working on that book. The book will be 2 volumes, because the first volume all will be in 2 languages, Armenian and English. The first volume are the so-called political suggestions. That means we develop suggestions for the government, for the authorities about that we consider right for the current developments. And the second volume will be more academic, more scientific analytics, which refer to the most various aspects of our society, our current society. It is this tremendous work that we could not simply do without Konrad Adenauer Foundation. By the way, it is our main task to support the political dialogue. Until now, it has been very good, and we hope that it will continue in that manner.
Years ago, meeting the representatives of Konrad Adenauer Foundation, we had an interesting idea that maybe some discussions, activities in the field of renewable energy and energy efficiency of Armenia could be organized, which would be much opener than pure energy. It means there will be private companies, banks, non-governmental organizations, government, politicians, as well as experts from different German organizations and right from Konrad Adenauer Foundation, which will give the opportunity to get familiarized both with the German experience and will also be a platform to discuss various issues in this area. The first event, we can say, was historical, because after that it has become a tradition, and we have similar events for 3 to 4 years. Konrad Adenauer Foundation has done great work also by organizing the visits of sector professionals, representatives of the public administration system, high-ranking officials abroad, through which, by visiting energy structures, just in place an interesting platform was created for experience exchange and also for discussion of politics. It was very important that during all this cooperation there have only been relations of a supporter and a constructive, the so-called partner by Konrad Adenauer Foundation. In terms of content, in organizational terms, we have never had any limitation. It is very rare that there are such open and free discussions. I think that the connection will continue. And today as well, we constantly have programs to discuss. And Konrad Adenauer Foundation is trying to find all those solutions which will provide a larger audience, will be greater, more accurate targeted support both to the sustainable development and Armenia's energy independence, which is definitely one of the most important issues for us.
During its activities in Armenia, Konrad Adenauer Foundation has paid great attention to the increase of professional qualities of journalists. Particularly, a lot of work is done with the students. Leading professionals, media managers and journalists are invited from Germany who hold training in Armenia, and my students have also participated in those programs, and they have always been pleased with their effectiveness. And me also, I have been the holder of Konrad Adenauer Foundation Scholarship. When I was a student, studied in the Faculty of Journalism of Yerevan State University, I was postgraduate student and was working on my PhD thesis. I applied, participated and overcame that competition stage, and thus the cooperation began. At the same time, that collaboration was not only a contribution to the academic education, but also during the entire scholarship period, all the participants of the program regularly prepared articles, which were published, translated into German. Those articles were on the issues of media freedom, freedom of expression, protection of journalists' rights, issues of self-regulation of mass media. And I think that 10 years activity of Konrad Adenauer Foundation is only the beginning to further increase the presence in Armenia and in particular to increase the programs aimed exactly at journalism education, at increasing its quality for making it more presentable.
The Church also had an important role to play, to the extent that the Church can have an important role in the establishment of peace, also while carrying out functions of the Church both on the way of civil consensus and civil dialogue. We have cooperated and cooperate also with the Armenian Apostolic Church. By the way, it is already 2 years that we have cooperated also with the museums operating in Holy Echmiadzin, together with which we can hold events more religious, more directed at religious thinking, having titles of religion and society.
Years ago, a cooperation was established with the foundation, since they also pursue cultural and religious dialogue, cultural and religious interconnections. And on the occasion of that meeting, the idea of implementing joint actions was born, and we are already pleased to emphasize that we have implemented 2 manuals on the topic of intercultural dialogue, with the participation of the Armenian Apostolic Church, Orthodox Church, Roman Catholic Church. We attach great importance to the activity of similar structures, private foundation, that helps the society to become a society having a high civil consciousness, where the concept of peace is important, where the creative and constructive process is important.
Each partner organization that Konrad Adenauer Foundation has cooperated with and continuously also cooperates with today, or those non-governmental organizations and partners with whom we should cooperate, we attach great importance to their role both in the development of democracy in the country and on the way to the development of civil society in particular.
I highly appreciate the work of the foundation in Armenia. What is interesting is that they work equally with everyone. They work both with the opposition and they work with the authorities. And it doesn't matter who is the opposition, who are the authorities, equally with everyone. The foundation operating today is one of the most important institutions of European culture in Armenia, and I would very much like its activities only to expand and deepen and have an equally targeted professional, institutional and long-term nature, as it has been for these 10 years. I would like to express special gratitude to the staff of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation for their delicacy and willingness. They were thinking of what the young people would need. They gave priority freedom to the young people themselves, and they did not try to impose this or that opinion on this or that professor, giving full freedom to the young people, which was also a unique help to the young people to think independently and to be independent. It is very easy to collaborate with such people who are professionals, profoundly understand the importance of issues that are laid on the basis of the same collaboration. and especially public-oriented, educational-oriented efforts are very important that the foundation carries out at different levels at the same Republic of Armenia by developing a certain stimulus so that the qualitative standards in terms of social, scientific, perhaps also political consciousness will rise. This is very valuable and important.
Our 9 years effective cooperation allows us to say that the role of the foundation was significant, and in the upcoming years as well, it has much to do in the development of our country's civil society. I want to express my gratitude on the occasion of 10th Jubilee, also to those who, although for a short term, but have contributed greatly to the implementation of our activities.
Armenia, in my opinion, has a tender hope. It is the civil society. I think it can be strengthened and must certainly be strengthened.